up for this. We down to the number one. The biggest boss of them all. And this is most definitely the biggest boss of them all. I'm talking about Willie Falcone. The Falcone organization grossed more than $3 billion over a 10-year span. It was rumored that Willie Falcone could make Pablo Escobar wash his car. It's a rumor. I know one thing. Willie Falcone built Miami. Built a lot of hotels you sleep in, a lot of strips. Made a lot of car lots rich. Gets no more richer, no more wealthier, no more treacherous, no more deadly. And the number one man on that, my Yayo, and that's Willie Falcone. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the number one man.
Well, you can't say nothing about Willie Falcone without saying something about Sal Galuda.
Willie Falcone loved the good life, loved to race along in number 20. Of course, he was able to finance his high style of living by importing cocaine, federal agents claim. His coke dealing ring was reportedly the largest on the East Coast and one of the top 5 in the world. Until the day Falcone and alleged Lieutenants Salvador Magluta and Lorenzo Benigo were arrested and charged with smuggling nearly 75 tons of cocaine into South Florida. The feds were delighted. They seized nearly $2.1 billion worth of property as they prepared their case against the Falcone group.
Building a case against the infamous and alleged drug kingpins Sal Magluta and Willie Falcone, along with 10 alleged associates, accused of working together to keep the cops and the courts off their tails at all costs.
They've done it by murder, by threats, by intimidation, everything that our system of justice says shouldn't happen. And they had unlimited resources to do it.
The charges in Friday's indictment center around Magluta and Falcone's drug trafficking trial back in '96. They were acquitted of smuggling 75 tons of cocaine into the U.S., accused of amassing $2 billion in assets over a 13-year period. The jury foreman in the trial, Miguel Moya, was convicted of taking a $400,000 bribe to return a not guilty verdict for Magluta and Falcone.
2 high school dropout millionaires. The police call the biggest and the best cocaine smugglers in South Florida history.
Them two went to Miami High. The reason they got so much notoriety is because they were into them boat racing, and which, you know, high profile, and they had them cigarettes which back then they were outrunning everything that the Coast Guard had. So, you know, they was bringing it in, you know, because at one point in time, I think they had them work for it with 300 to 900 million.
And I just hope that our justice system respects the system and respects that a jury found us not guilty. We went to trial. We did it the way this country and this Constitution was meant.
Willie Falcone and Sal Magluta have been acquitted on drug smuggling charges, but that doesn't mean the federal government is giving up. Prosecutors are fighting to keep them behind bars. Defense attorneys say the feds are going too far.
It's now gone beyond the stage of legitimacy into more of an obsession and a personal battle.
Falcone and Magluta are still locked up, awaiting a money laundering trial in Jacksonville. Their attorneys tried to get them out of jail on bond today, but their efforts failed when prosecutors put up a fight, arguing the men shouldn't be released. A magistrate denied bond for Falcone, calling him a flight risk and a danger to the community because on top of the money laundering charges, he also faces a firearms charge. Now, bond was granted for Magluta, but then stayed because prosecutors appealed. Magluta's lawyers will challenge that appeal.
His personal reaction is he's on the very verge of freedom, which would really be the proper result of the jury's verdict of last week, and he is hopeful that the system works and that he will get a bail review in Jacksonville or a lifting of the stay on Friday.
Prosecutors are fighting so hard to keep Magluta and Falcone behind bars because despite a jury's decision last week, they consider the two the biggest drug traffickers Florida has ever seen. Even though a jury acquitted them, prosecutors maintain the pair smuggled more than 75 tons of cocaine into the country during the 1980s. Because they've been in jail so long, awaiting a trial now over, it's unlikely convictions in the pending trials would land them in prison. They have years of jail time credit accumulated. Still, U.S. Attorney Kendall Coffey will not surrender.
We are going to enforce our responsibilities under the criminal laws to the maximum, and we're not going to walk away because this isn't a football game. This is the real world, and this is about our responsibility to do justice.
Our investigation also reveals the latest assault on Southwest Miami-Dade focuses on not only witness tampering, but conspiracy, money laundering, obstruction of justice, and perjury, all in connection with the Magluta-Falcone court cases.
Bernie thought the men came to buy his boat. Looks like it was his life that was for sale. Former drug convict turned government witness Bernardo Gonzalez Jr. gunned down behind the wheel of his Jeep, allegedly by contract killers. They also shot his younger brother, Umberto, once in the head. He was taken off life support today. Those closest to Bernie Gonzalez say they knew he was a marked man.
I was afraid for Bernie more than any of my other clients. He helped to put over 20 people in jail. It could have been people who were looking for revenge. It could have been people who he still might have testified against.
One of the cases Bernie was scheduled for, that of powerboat racer and accused drug lord Willie Falcone, reportedly Bernie's former drug boss. Coincidence or not, Bernie and his brother are the fourth and fifth person linked to that case to fall victim to crime. In April, Bernardo Gonzalez was listed in an ad in The Champion, a law magazine, paid for by Falcone's attorneys, looking for information on those who would testify against him. Two others listed in that ad were shot last year. Both lived. But according to this government informant, Bernie's name and at least four others listed in that ad were also on a hit list. He says he heard Falcone's friends talk about in prison last year.
And they were talking about how they were going to get back at whoever spoke and whoever testified, and how they were going to teach, they were going to show the snitches or the government informants a lesson.
No comment today from Falcone's attorneys nor the government's prosecutors. The informant says he notified government agents of the hit list. He's afraid the killing is not over.
This is not just a car accident. These are people being killed in the streets. Innocent people. Umberto had nothing to do with this. And if the mother would have been there, or the old man would have been there, they would have gotten hit too.
Then witnesses against the gang started dropping like a judge's gavel. Luis Escobedo, who was going to testify against his old friends, was shot to death outside a Coconut Grove bar. No one was ever caught. Juan Barroso was going to tell what he knew about his old friends. Last August, he pulled into this gas station and was shot in the back of the head. He survived. The gunman escaped. The next to talk about the Falcone gang, Lazaro Cruz. He was shot outside his Hialeah home. He lived, but the attackers escaped. And yesterday, the latest on the witness list, Bernardo Gonzalez was gunned down. He died. Again, the gunman escaped. But the strangest death of a friend of Falcone was the closest to him. His wife, Ailina, was ambushed on the streets of Coral Gables last August. But while the other shootings may seem like someone's attempt to kill all the witnesses, police are certain she was not the target of a revenge killing, simply a victim of random violence.
Unbelievable. Four of the people planning to testify against Falcone are gunned down. A well-financed plot to destroy the government's case against the drug group, or just a simple string of bad luck for those guys.
The victims were cut down by what police describe only as a, quote, significant number of bullets. Bullets that hailed down from this rooftop.
Employees are advising there is no access from the interior of the building to the roof.
In 2 minutes, no fewer than 75 officers and a procession of ambulances were on the scene as a helicopter hunted in vain for the shooter. One dead, 2 critically wounded, another hurt trying to dodge the bullet. One of the wounded is a man named Ray Cruz. He's the brother of a witness in a major drug case.